Hello Year 3, this is your first maths video. Your learning objective is, can I represent different numbers and understand how a number is made? Your second learning objective is, can I use a ruler to draw a neat place value grid? Don't worry if you don't have a ruler at home, you can use anything that has a straight side like a pencil or a book. After every slide, I'll give you some time to have a go at answering the question yourself, and then we'll discuss it together, other than the activities that you need to be doing independently. So here's your first question. What number do the place value counters make in numerals and words? Have a go at counting these counters, and then look at your options A, B, C, and D to see which one is represents the value of the counters that you counted. Okay, so as you may have noticed, these counters have different values. Some represent hundreds, some represent tens, and some represent ones. Let's start by counting the hundreds together. 100, 200, 300. Let's count the tens. 310, 320, 330, 340, 350, and then let's count the ones. 351, 352, 353, and 354. Okay, let's look at our options to see which one represents 354. So we've got option B, 354, and option C, 354. We need to now look at the way they are written in words to see which one's correct. So this says 354. This one says 354. So option B is correct. The slides where we are discussing things, you can take notes on a piece of paper to help you, but don't worry about answering all the questions that we're discussing on your piece of paper. If you want to and it helps you, you can, but don't worry about it too much. You can just discuss it or have a think. Okay. Your second question, what numbers are represented below? Make the numbers below using place value counters. So let's have a look at the first section together. Pause the video and have a think about which numbers are represented below using these place value counters. If it helps you, you can note it down on your piece of paper. So you're just doing this section for now. Okay, so let's look at the first one. Let's look at how many tens we've got, counting in tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42. Let's look at the second number, counting in tens. 10, 20, 30. And let's look at the last one together, counting in tens first. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. So now for the second section, I know you may not have concrete apparatus at home or place value counters, so you could just draw these on your piece of paper, but making sure that the value of each counter is clearly shown. So if you're representing the ones, make sure you draw counters with a number 1 inside, and then if you're drawing the tens, make sure you draw a counter with a number 10 inside. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll do it together. Okay, so to represent the number 54, let's look at how many ones we have, and then we will look at how many tens we have. We have got 4 ones, so let's draw our 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to clarify that each of these represent 1, so I'm going to put a number 1 inside. And then how many tens do we have? 5. So I'm going to draw my 5 tens. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to make sure that I clarify that these are tens. So I'm going to write number 10 inside each. Okay, let's look at the second one. We've got our ones and we've got our tens. How many ones do we have? No ones. We've got 0 ones. So do we need to draw any ones counters? No, because we don't have any ones. Let's look at the tens. How many tens do we have? 7. So let's draw our 7 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I need to clarify that these represent tens. So I need to write my number 10 in each. Okay, and last one, let's look at our ones and our tens. How many ones do we have? 2. These both represent ones. And then how many tens do I have? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Try to organize your counters as an array, so not to make a long row of counters. Try to organize them when you can. So my 6, I can organize them in 2 rows of 3. And then I need to write my 10 inside. Okay. Okay, so this next activity that we are going to do together as well. What number is represented in the place value chart? Can you write these in numerals and words? Pause the video, have a go at doing it yourself, and then play the video when you're ready. So this number is represented in a place value chart. It shows what the place value of each of the pictorial representations are. These represent ones, these represent tens, and these represent hundreds. Okay, so what's this first number? Let's count together. 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, and 180, 181, 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, which you represent in numerals like this. We have 8 ones, 8 tens, and 1 hundreds. I hope you've had a go at writing it in words as well. This is how you would write 188 in words. 188. If you've made mistakes with the spelling, you can correct them now that I've shown you. And then the second place value grid, what do you notice? What's the difference between this place value grid and this place value grid? Well, here we don't have any tens, so our tens column is empty. Let's count together. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. We don't have any tens, so 501, 502, 503, 504, which you represent like this using numbers. We have 4 ones, 0 tens, and 5 hundreds. And you write it in words like this: 504. If you've made any spelling mistakes, that's fine. You can correct it now. Okay. Writing in numerals and words, what is the value of the number represented in the place value table? Have a go at doing these by yourself, and then you can label them on your paper, A, and write your answer in numbers and words, B, and C. Now that I've shown you on the previous slide, have a go at doing these by yourself and play the video when you're ready. Okay, next question. Who is correct and who is incorrect? Explain your answer. We have a place value grid here. The girl says this number is 810. The boy says this number is 801. Pause the video and think. Who is correct and who is incorrect? Why? Okay, so let's see what number this place value grid represents. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and 800. We have one tens counter in the tens column, so 810. Do we have any ones? No. So let's have a look at the numbers that are represented here. Here it shows that there are no ones, which is correct, 1 tens, which is correct, and 8 hundreds, which is also correct. So we know that the girl is right. How about the boy? What mistake has he made? Well, if you look here, he has written a number 1 in his ones column. But if we look at the place value grid, there are no ones in our place value grid. So the mistake that he has made is that instead of writing the 1 in the tens column, he's written it in the ones column. And his number does not represent 810. His number therefore represents 801. This is your first independent activity. Label these A, B, C, and D in your book or on your piece of paper and answer the questions. These you need to do by yourself, so we won't go through the answers together. So pause the video and have a go at completing these, and then when you're ready, you can move on with the video. Okay. Complete the place value charts to show the correct numbers. So here we've been given some numbers, and they are going to be represented in the place value chart, but at the moment the place value grids are not complete. So if we look carefully, how many ones do we have? Here we have 5 ones. How many ones are represented in the place value grid? Only 2. So we need to correct the place value grid to represent the correct number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to write my number 1 in there to show that they represent ones. Let's look at our tens column. We have 5 tens, but in our place value grid, we've only got 1 10. So we need to correct that. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to make sure I write my number 10 in there. And then let's look at the hundreds. In our place value grid, we've got 100, but our number has 3 hundreds. So I need to correct that. 1, 2, 3. Now this number, pause the video and have a go at completing this by drawing your own place value grid. Okay, so here the number represented in our place value grid is 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. But the number that we've been given is 405. So we need to adjust our place value grid to represent this number. How many ones do we have? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In our place value grid, it shows 4 tens. But does our number have any tens? No, our tens column shows a 0. So we can cross these out. And here our number has 4 hundreds, but in our place value grid, we've only been given 100. So we can draw the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last one, our number is 329. Our place value grid shows 100. There are no tens and there are no ones. So let's look at our ones. We need 9 ones. We're going to draw them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and one of them is going to come a little bit out, which is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many tens do we have? 2 tens. 1, 2. And how many hundreds do we have? 3. We've only been given 1, so we need to draw 2 more. Okay. What number is represented below? What is the value of each column? Can you draw this on your piece of paper and write the value of each column underneath the column? And then have a think. What is the same and what is different to the previous representations? Our previous representations, our counters looked like this. So what's the same and what's different about these representations? Pause the video and have a think and play the video when you're ready. Okay, so let's look at our ones columns. How many ones do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 ones has a value of 4. How many tens do we have? 1, 2, 3. Now we need to remember that in our tens column, each counter represents tens. So let's count in tens. 10, 20, 30. There are 3 tens and the value of it is 30. And our hundreds column, how many hundreds do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, in our hundreds column, each counter represents hundreds. So we need to count in hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So there are 500 counters and the value is 500. Now, what's the same and what's different to the previous representations? Here we can see that all the counters look the exact same. The value is not written in each of the counters like it was in the previous slide. But we know the value of each counter because it's placed in the separate hundreds, tens, and ones columns. So we know if it's in the ones column, the value is 1. If it's in the tens column, the value of each counter is 10. And if it's in the hundreds column, the value of each counter is 100. Can you draw these numbers using the place value chart? So can you draw your own place value chart using your straight pencil or book or ruler if you do have one at home? Draw your hundreds, tens, and ones column, and using place value counters, can you represent these three numbers? We'll do one together. So let's do 308. How many ones do we have? 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't need to write the values anymore because I know that if it's in the ones column, each counter represents ones. How many tens do I have? 0. So do I need to draw anything in the tens column? No, because there are 0 tens. And how many hundreds do I have? 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, here's your second activity. You're going to answer these questions on your piece of paper. You can write activity 2, so label it number 2, and then you can answer each part of the question by labeling it A, B, C, D, and E. Have a go at doing these independently, and when you finish, play the video again. And here is a challenge for you. Have a go at doing this challenge on your piece of paper, again independently. Draw a place value chart on your piece of paper, or use materials that you've got at home instead of counters. So you're all going to draw a place value chart and draw the counters pictorially, or you're going to use materials you've got at home. For example, if you've got some things that, for example, conkers or anything circular that you may have. But don't worry if you don't have anything, you can just draw the counters as well, pictorially. How many numbers can you make with 5 counters? Have a go at placing these 5 counters or drawing them on your place value chart and see how many different numbers you can make, and then list them on your piece of paper. That's the end of your first maths lesson. Make sure you take pictures of your work to upload them onto Tapestry, and then I'll see you in the next video. Bye, Year 3.